Hello everyone. Today I'm here with a new topic of balance of trade. I will share the core concepts of balance of trade that would definitely help you in your exams. Do not need to do any kind of cramming, just clear your concepts. Let's start. In today's plan, I will discuss the definition of balance of trade, what is the formula that we use for the balance of trade, other terms that we can use for balance of trade, surplus versus deficit balance of trade, and impact of balance of trade on GDP. What is the relationship between the GDP and the balance of trade? So, the definition of balance of trade. Balance of trade is the difference between the value of goods and services exported out of a country and the value of goods and services imported into the country. I use two terms, exported and imported. Export means we sell goods and services. Import means we buy goods and services. When we sell goods and services, what comes in return of goods and services? Money come. We call it inflow of money. When we buy the goods and services, what happen? There is a outflow of money. So basically, balance of trade measure the inflow of money and the outflow of money. Formula for the balance of trade is very simple. Balance of trade is equal to export of goods and services minus import of goods and services. What it mean, we can call it in other terms that inflow minus outflow. Because when we export good, money comes in our country, and when we import, money goes out of from our country. So simple, inflow minus outflow. Other terms that we can use for the balance of trade are net export and trade balance. You do not need to be confused when you are reading any economic article or any newspaper. They can use the term net export, trade balance instead of balance of trade. Surplus versus deficit balance of trade. When the balance of trade is surplus and when the balance of trade is deficit. Just keep this image in your mind. That would definitely help you to explain the whole concept of surplus versus deficit balance of trade. Balance of trade surplus is equal to exports are greater than imports. For example, XYZ country there is a XYZ country. They do exports of 50 million and imports they do for 20 million. This 30 million is the trade surplus. It means that there is a trade surplus. Country is in good condition because they are doing lot of exports than imports. On the other hand, balance of trade deficit. Deficit means when the exports are less than the imports. For example, same XYZ country is doing exports for 30 million and imports are of 50 million. There is a this minus sign predict that the balance of trade is deficit. That is not a good sign for a country because the money is going out of the country more and more, but the money that is coming in our country is very less. So that is not favorable situation, that is a favorable situation. Impact of balance of trade on GDP. GDP is gross domestic product. We will check the relationship between balance of trade surplus and deficit with the GDP. We will cover these two questions in this slide. When GDP increases, let's suppose a country, XYZ country is having a trade surplus. What would be there? GDP increases or decreases in that country. So if there is a balance of trade surplus in a country, there the GDP of that country will increase. On the other hand, if there is a balance of trade deficit in any XYZ country, the GDP will decreases, because surplus means lot of money is coming into our country, that is also helping in GDP increase, but deficit contribute in the reduction of GDP. Thank you for watching my video.